time, I would like to introduce Brad Faxon to come up and induct our next PGA professional into the Rhode Island Golf Hall of Fame. Brad?
What a great night. Pride to listen to you, Paul, to see you here in person. And pride is one of the values that Freddie Bruno instilled in many of the people here in this audience, and many members from our club at Rhode Island Country Club. And to see you here, to see Jim Donaldson, Kevin McNamara that carried on your heritage. You passed the torch like Nicholas Palmer did to Nicholas. Fantastic. And I was reading in the program, you started working in 1977 for the Pro Joe, and you know, I think about RICA and these acronyms and abbreviations and how much they mean in my life and everybody's life. I knew you interviewed me in 1975. I didn't know it was Pawtucket Gazette, Times Gazette. I'm so proud to be here to induct Fred Bruno into the Hall of Fame and to see all the support from our club. I first moved back to Rhode Island from Germany. My dad was an officer in the Army. He went to Norwich Academy. I lived in Frankfurt, Germany for 2 years before coming back to Barrington. My dad was a very good golfer, came from a family of golfers, and my dad was the club champ at Rhode Island Country Club in 65 and 66 at the ages of 25 and 26 years old. This guy grabbed me by the ear and says, "Hey kid, come with me, put a helmet on." Little did I know this was Fred Bruno. And he says, "You're gonna shag balls for Mr. Anderson." And I got my yellow little hat on. I went down there with my little plucker. And this wasn't a range that just had Mr. Anderson. This was a range that had a lot of golfers that didn't know where this golf ball was going. So you were dodging bullets. Mr. Anderson was double-digit handicap, and golf balls didn't go right towards the caddy. I spent about an hour out there, got my heart rate up over about 185, came back into the pro shop and got $1.25. And little did I know what Fred Bruno would mean in my life in the years to come. But every time as I started the caddy, I would get there early on the Saturday and Sunday mornings where the better golfers and the better payers, which was really important when money meant everything to you. Freddie Bruno was already there. He'd already washed his car by himself, with his hose, with his soap, with his bucket, with his towels in the trunk, in shorts, in a t-shirt. But no member ever saw him like that. They saw him in his navy blue Sands belt, slacks without a belt, his white Pickering shirt that had a pocket here for his Camel Unfiltereds. And it was always, "Hi, Mrs. Chaffee, how are you? Hi, Mr. Boss." To be able to be part of this legacy of the Club of Rhode Island and what Freddie, he didn't start it, but he's made it better. And Freddie Bruno's left a mark on everybody, particularly me. So Kyle Phelps, you're going to come back here, Dr. Bruno, to accept the award as Fred Bruno inducted into the Rhode Island Golf Hall of Fame.
It's real easy for me to be up here tonight. Unfortunately, Carol, Fred's sister, I know most of you know her, she fell ill and was unable to attend, and she asked me if I would come up here and receive this, and I couldn't wait to do it. I have to tell you that the first thing is Fred is very, very, very special to me. He's very special to just about everybody in this room, but especially the center of this room. And Gary Dorsey's right there. Gary is Fred's best friend in the world. He worked for Fred for a number of years, and they've been close ever since. The thing I would say that made Fred better than just about any golf profession in the world is not the fact that he worked 7 days a week, not the fact that he was the first one on property, probably the last one to leave every single day. It was the fact that he bothered with people. He cared about people. He knew everyone's name. He knew every one of the members' kids' names, and he bothered with everyone. He knew all the employees' names. He knew where the employees came from. He knew the caddies' names, and he cared about where they were going. He was an amazing person. He was an unbelievable role model. And with all the nonsense that's going on, I watched John Rahm get on TV after collecting $400 million and say he's growing the game. He wasn't growing the game. Fred Bruno was growing the game. He was an incredible person, and if I brought all the members from Rhode Island Country Club, they'd have similar stories. And you know, it was an absolute pleasure to know him. He was just an incredible person. And I don't want to get too sentimental, but, you know, my father died from a sudden heart attack my second year working for Fred. And I remember I was absolutely devastated. And I was at home, I was trying to take care of my mother. My mother was in shock, and my phone rings, and Fred's like, get back to work. He's like, I need you back at work. And I at the time, I was like, what do you mean I need to go back to work? Fred was there. He was trying to heal me. He wanted me to get back to normal. And I remember, like 5 years after taking over for him, he and I were sitting around one evening, and he said to me, he goes, you know, Kyle, he goes, I was thinking about your dad last night. And he said, you know, once in a while, I just think about my dad. And he said, you know, I think he's looking down at me, and he's really proud of me. He goes, and I know your dad's looking down at you, and he's really proud of you. And I just hope right now that Fred Bruno's looking down at me, he's still proud of me. And I can't say enough great things about him, and it's an honor to accept this award for him. Thank you very much.
It's very hard to follow Brad Faxon and Kyle, because they know Fred probably a lot better than I did. I'm his first cousin. And the way I would be introduced at Rhode Island Country Club and at Avon Park. Hi, yeah, this is my cousin Bill. He's a doctor. He's in Florida, and he's older than I am. One of the things that Fred had, which was unbelievable, and that I'm going to miss, is playing around the golf with Fred was not playing around the golf with Fred. It was an exciting, adventurous day. You never knew what would come out of his mouth, and you never knew what was going to happen on the golf course. And some of the examples would be, if you're playing kind of crappy and not doing real well, he'd go over and say, yeah, that was a pretty good shot, but you know, even a blind squirrel can find an acorn once in a while. So Fred was a mentor to all of us in the family. I accept this award in honor of my cousin, for all my cousins, for the people in Avon Park. And we miss you, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you both. And again, you know, I also am very fortunate. I'm going to have a story of Fred that will be brief. But when I first started working at the RIGA, we had state amateur qualifying at Rhode Island Country Club one time. And I was up on the first tee, getting things going. Joe Sprague was out on the golf course. And this guy came walking up. I had never met him. And he had like a candy wrapper or a wrapper from some peanut butter crackers in his hand. And he said, is this what RIGA people do when they come to clubs? Throw garbage in the parking lot? I got a good mind to stop this right now and throw you right out of here. And I was horrified. And then he said, are you the new guy at the RIGA? I said, yeah. He said, welcome, it's good to have you. Have a good day. But he wanted to make a point that, you know, that was his club, and if you weren't following the rules, he was going to let you know. And then, you know, this is what I take to heart with Fred. It was mentioned, at 8 years old, he started caddying at Triggs. And then he went on to a great career at Rhode Island Country Club, 30 plus years. And when he retired at Rhode Island Country Club, our office is at Buttonhole. And guess who hung out at Buttonhole many, many days? He went back to the neighborhood he grew up in and taught all the young kids at Buttonhole during his retirement.